We're settling now for a comprehensive analysis of this heartbreak. And Nana Kwekwajiman is joining me. Later on, Rosalind Amo will join us, also be part of the analysis. But I want to say good morning to you. Is it a good morning to you?
Yes, it is a good morning.
Okay.
Isn't it a good morning to you?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we're alive. There's a lot to say Alhamdulillah for. We've got to thank God.
Absolutely. But it was disappointing yesterday. Was it disappointing for you? Or you had predicted that this was going to happen?
It's even if you know it's going to happen, there's going to be a disappointment. I remember speaking with one of your staff and telling them that it's going to penalties. So, you know, gird your loins, so to speak. But I think it was written on the wall. I think the majority of Ghanaians, no matter what they say publicly, knew that we were not going to win the cup, because that's the ultimate. It's not about just being knocked out in the round of 16, but how many Ghanaians watching this program now actually believed we were going to win the African Cup of Nations. I would say very few. I would say they're in a minority.
After our last win?
What, 1982?
No, I'm talking about even in this particular tournament.
Oh, the last win against Guinea-Bissau.
Exactly. Yeah, there were people who thought... But
could you really lose against Guinea-Bissau? That's the other thing. Could Ghana really lose against Guinea-Bissau?
And we thought Cameroon was going to beat us mercilessly, and they couldn't.
Well, it's not that they couldn't. We didn't play any game that allowed them to a certain extent, and they too didn't push themselves either. They were comfortable. They were comfortable. They had no qualms. If you see their post presser, they were comfortable with that draw. They didn't worry about it at all. You know, but at that point we were all panicking because we didn't even know if we were going to be able to beat Guinea-Bissau. We didn't even know that within ourselves, but then we did.
So did we do well in this tournament?
Well, we always do well. Isn't that our mantra? Let's go and do well. We've done well. Of course we've done well. We always do well, but we don't win the cup. And that's the issue, you see, because, you know, even locally, if we're participating in Champions League or Confederation Cup, you will hear the administrators of certain clubs say, we just want to get into the money zone. You see, we don't set our sights high enough. I
thought with this particular tournament we did, and we were so clear we wanted a trophy because we had gone very far in previous tournaments. We just wanted the cup. Going to semi-finals was not enough. Going to the finals was not going to be enough. We needed to bring home the trophy. I thought we all knew that.
Well, we knew that, and to be honest with you, we always say we're going to win the cup. We always say it. Every time we go into a competition, we say we don't want to be just participants, we're going to win the cup. But we know it's a false cry. Even before we leave the shores of Ghana, we know it's a false cry. The preparation is wrong, the team selection is incorrect, so many different factors always mitigate against us. But we say, you know, it must be patriotic, and so we say we're going to win the cup. So many people come out and say we're going to win the cup, from, you know, people on the NC, you know, you got all these fake pastors come out and say we're going to win the cup, and, you know, people say they've had a dream, we're going to win the cup, and we've won the cup already. It's normal. That's what we do. Even when the odds are stacked against us and we can see you're not going to win any cup, we still come out with all these false expressions.
But we went to Dubai, and everybody said, because most of us were not in Dubai with them, but everybody said, oh, this has been fantastic. I think Coach Kwesi Appiah himself did say this was the most, or one of the most, either fantastic, or he used a certain word like that to describe his Dubai preparation. Well, and so we thought we were good to go.
Well, what he said was this was the most peaceful camp that he has had. There's been no I'm on this side, I'm on that side, I support this player, I support that player. You know, there was no factionalization and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, he said all these things. And for once, I believed him. Not necessarily that we'd win the cup, but that it'd been peaceful. That the factions that exist hadn't risen above everything else. I believed him because you know, normally when we go to these competitions, they lie to us. When you get the report from wherever they're camping, they say things are brilliant, it's fantastic. Meanwhile, there's about 3 or 4 factions there. They're all fighting against each other, mitigating against each other. Some people are taking it into spiritual quarters and doing things against each other, so they might get injured during the little training and then not be playing. And this time he said it was the best. So I believed him. I believed him. But that didn't necessarily mean that it would translate in the Black Stars winning the cup, the African Cup of Nations. You know, it didn't mean that. It just meant that there was less infighting than there was before. I want to tell you that I'm not sure if it was during Ryvak's time. We came back from the African Cup of Nations and there was a report saying that the players did juju on themselves. It wasn't the expatriate coach that wrote that report. It was written by other people on his technical team because he didn't know much about it. They spotted it and said, look, this is what's happening. And the coach came back and said they were doing black magic against themselves. That was the word. So there's been problems for a very, very, very long time. There's been technical problems. There's been problems of indiscipline in the playing body. There's been the factionalism, etc. There's never been a clear focus. We've been focused more on the money. The Ghana Black Stars has been monetized. And these are the things that we've been focused on. Up until now, we don't even know what the budget was for this tournament anyway.
So can you say what we've been focused on with this particular tournament?
What have we been focused on? That's a good question.
Because people look at Madagascar and it's so clear, like everybody says it, that these guys came in here, nobody expected them to come this far. They have, and you can feel, you can see from their play that they're actually playing for the country.
Exactly, exactly. You know, we talk about patriotism, but I don't think we really understand what that word means. It's just another word we band around the place. You know, if I don't wear a Ghanaian jersey during the Ghana Black Stars match, I'm not patriotic. We don't really understand what we're talking about, and we throw these words into the air that we don't understand. Look, I mean, we had the Jamife report, and the Jamife report concluded we shouldn't give the players appearance fees. And I thought that the players, having known what they went through in 2014, would have said, look, on principle, keep the money, because we're here for Ghana. It's not about the money. We make good money outside anyway. So keep your $80,000 US. They didn't. And they also took 30,000 for qualifying. So even though they didn't win the first 2 matches, they still got their 10,000, 10,000, 10,000.
For making it out of the group stage.
For making it out of the group stage. So they got 110,000. And at the end of the day, they're coming home. It's 110,000 for work not done. We've got politicians out there who should be in Parliament. They're out there. They don't know anything about football, but they're out there in the sun, 5-star hotel, per diems, blah, 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 blah. We've brought supporters out there, which we're not supposed to bring supporters out there in accordance with the Jamife report. We've done a whole host of things just totally wrong. And this morning, people would like to focus on the coach and blame him. And I say he's not solely to blame. The entire system is rotten to the core. And not just at this tournament, but at tournaments gone by. I mean, that's the reality. We've not prepared well. We've not selected the players that can win us this trophy. Technically, we've got challenges that we're not dealing with or we can't deal with. And then we go out there and we tell the expectant public, we're going to win the cup. I've had a dream we're going to win the cup. The pastor says we're going to win the cup. Blah, blah said we're going to win the cup. And then we come home. And I think that, you know, every time we come back, we have this introspective perspective. And when we look inside at ourselves, we see the truth and we put it to one side and we bring out publicly a lie and we say it can all be better the next time round and let's go again. Because at the end of the day, is it about patriotism or is it about money? You know? And I think it's about money. I think that even the politicians of both parties, You know, they place a very high premium on football. Not necessarily local football, because that remains still in a shambles, but they place a very high premium on national football, and they believe that if Ghanaians get this feel-good factor, for example, if we had won the cup, they have this belief that the feel-good factor would be so good that they'd be voted back in at the next election.
And nobody would even bother about the budgets.
Yeah, nobody.
We brought the trophy.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's a fallacy, really. It's a political fallacy. And so they go to all extents to do everything that they possibly can to politicize the whole thing and, you know, do their mumbo jumbo. And we always come back without the trophy. And I'm saying both parties. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
They both do the same thing.
They've all been there before, haven't they?
They've all been there before.
Yeah. But you talk about player selection as one of the problems with this particular tournament. And I want to box that and ask about the coach, because who does the selection? That's the coach, right?
I don't know.
Is that his call?
I don't know.
But is that supposed to be his call?
It should be his call, but I really don't know.
Why don't you know? We have a head coach.
No, but you see, you take it back from even the head coach thing. We have a technical directorate, and the technical directorate is supposed to sit on top of things and govern everything. The type of consultation and discussion that the technical directorate should be having with the national teams and everything about the way they perform, the way they play, the formations they use, the selection criteria and things that are there, it's non-existent. It doesn't happen. So when it comes to selecting players, we're supposed to have a team selection criteria. I've never seen us use one. I've never seen us use one. And I'll give you an example. Thomas Ajupong, I can't remember who he plays for. It's insignificant, irrelevant. But he hasn't played since November. And in fact, people who criticize me for saying that will say he played 60 minutes since November until now. And I will say, well, because it's 60 minutes, I choose not to include it, because that's not even a match. That's not even a full match. Yet we selected him to play, and we brought him to Dubai, and he was there. And what did he do? He came on the first match, he's injured. We looked at him again, he's injured. And the fact of the matter is, he's been injured for like 6 months. So why won't he be injured? Why won't he be injured? And so his contribution to our campaign was basically zero. You know, and you look at Achu. I think even some of these players hide the injuries. They even do their best to hide the injuries because they want to play. But we're supposed to, for me, we're supposed to look at statistics. We're supposed to be monitoring them very well while they're playing abroad or wherever they play, and look at their contribution and then determine whether or not they can make a satisfactory contribution to our campaign. But we don't do it that way. I don't know how we select the players, but there's no selection criteria. You know, you look at all the strikers we selected, I think there were about 4 or 5 or what have you initially, and when you count how much goals they'd scored, I'm not sure they'd passed 15. They're talking about 5 professional strikers. I said in the beginning I wouldn't have brought Jordan Ayew, because I think he scored about 3 goals or something.
But he's been very fantastic in this tournament.
Well, he scored 2 goals. That's what you call very fantastic. And that's the difference.
Are you just looking at the goals, or you're looking at his general contribution as well?
You know, we look at his general contribution, and I'm not going to say he didn't play well. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is his job is to score the goals. That's his job.
So that's the measuring tool that you're using.
Of course. Everybody has to have a good contribution. Everybody needs to make a good contribution. That's standard. You can't be just there, oh, I'm the goalkeeper, so all I need to do is save the ball, and when I save the ball, I can lustily throw the ball out or do something else. Your overall contribution counts. It matters. Yeah? But you have a particular role to play. His role there is to score the goals. He scored two fantastic goals. I'm not going to take anything away from him. But overall...
Are you adding the penalties yesterday?
Okay, he scored 3 goals. I'll throw the cup in for good measure. You know, but I'm saying that, you know, when you have a selection criteria, you look at the player's contribution to the team he's in, etc., and then there's a key factor. Maybe he's a central defender, you're looking for that discipline, you want to know how many, you want to see how many times he's cleared the ball off the line, or he's commanded the back four, or he's done certain things which are peculiar with his role. Yeah, and that determines, yes, I'll take the person. You even look at it, how many yellow cards he's had, how many red cards he's had, etc., because this determines so much about the player's personality.
So you wouldn't have gone with him?
I wouldn't have gone with him.
Okay.
But the day he scored that first goal, I came into your studio and I said that was fantastic, because if he hadn't done that, we were in trouble. We would be in trouble. But I'm just saying to you that overall, when you look, and if you just take the striking department, it was weak. It was weak. We needed the goals to come from elsewhere. And what disappointed me as well is we picked a striker from Kotoko, Fatau, and we picked a central defender from Hearts of Oak. And they're not the best, the clubs are not the best examples, because the strikers could come from anywhere. But they were local players, and we dropped them. We brought them to Abu Dhabi or to Dubai or wherever, and then we eventually dropped them. We only brought a goalkeeper, a local goalkeeper, which is something we always do. And unless the 2 other goalkeepers broke their necks, he was never, ever going to play. If they continue the tournament next year, that goalkeeper is still not going to play. Do you understand? They were patronizing us here at home by selecting him. And I believe that they should have kept the 2 outfield players. I think you would have, you know, even if you couldn't get what you expected out of Fatau in the striking department, give the boy the experience. Because we've got the players here. You know, the criteria is more about, oh, if you play outside, then we'll pick you. And these players here who were struggling to survive, trying to make it through, there's no encouragement for them. There's nothing there for them. And so we leave them. And, you know, I think it's terrible. But essentially, there's no selection criteria.
Let me just say good morning to you, Rosalind Amo, and thank you for coming. Thank you for making it.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's great to be back here.
You should be heartbroken.
Not entirely. Disappointed, but not heartbroken. I mean,
Okay.
I'm disappointed that we couldn't go far, the Stars couldn't go far. But having followed national teams, I mean, I have guarded my heart against being broken.
So there's no heart to even be broken.
No,
yes.
I mean,
When it comes to
at this point, when it comes to football, no, not even the Black Queens. No.
Oh, that saddens me.
In football, I mean, you can't. It's only the uninitiated who would go in cocksure that, I mean, it's going to happen. And 3 occasions I've watched the Stars miss the final. So when it gets to this crunch, more so when it is penalties, knowing our history in penalty kicks, knowing that it could go anybody's way, I don't really bank my heart.
What went wrong for you yesterday? Because a lot of people thought Tunisia would be very easy.
No. I always say that don't judge teams by their performances at the group stages. Some may be strategic. I always say that, look, these days when people calculate and measure how they want to progress in a competition, sometimes people take calculated gambles. They strategize to avoid certain teams at certain levels so that they can progress. So even though Tunisia came into this stage with the worst ever, record, the only side to have garnered 3 points as runners-up in a group to advance. But you realize that there was something. I mean, the players knew. The other North African teams were being knocked out. Morocco had been eliminated. Egypt had been eliminated. Algeria were the only side that looks very, excellent. And there was no way. Before the match, Alain Giresse knew his job was on the line, because it was like, you either win or you just, when you are done, you just go home. Don't come back to Tunis. The players themselves also knew that if there was ever a time for them to die a little more, this was the time, because they knew they hadn't had a very good start at the group campaign, and there was nothing more to die for. I mean, they had nothing to lose. They would give it their all. And I think that it is that zeal and resilience that helped. And they were lucky to not to have conceded that the day Ayew goal, because that would have changed the dynamics of the game. So it worked well for them. And once they knew that, look, we could hold them and push them and go all the way. After all, Madagascar had done it, Benin had done it, so why not? I mean, there was nothing to lose. And if it got to that crunch penalties, then we could take our chances. And you saw the change, the tactical change Alain Giresse made.
The goalkeeper.
He brought in the goalkeeper. And the other goalkeeper, Ben Hassan, was angry. He didn't understand. But Alain Giresse knew, the goalkeeper's trainer knew what he had. Probably they had trained with him, so they knew that, look, if it comes to the one-on-ones, he was a better choice. They brought him in and he did it. Just one, and it's made all the difference. So for me, I think that maybe tactically we got it wrong somewhere, but the Tunisians were also, after all, you had beaten them 6 times already in the AFCON. At every level, either the group stages or the quarterfinals, you've always been beating them. And you thought they would sit down and say, okay, they beat us all the time, so this time we will go up without fighting. That, I mean, it's only those who do not understand. And right from the onset, I knew what they were coming. I watched their game and I realized that they had come sitting down, soaking all the pressure. They realized that there was no way tactically, if they wanted to play ball, they would match the Stars. Because for a greater part of the time, you realize that the Stars were on top. And that is why I also say that I would prefer to always have a Black Star squad that show up better in the second half than showing up in the first half without producing any results. And that is what we did. The first half, we dominated and everything. We were not able to score. Then the second half, the Tunisians took over a while. And then later on, getting to the latter parts of the day, we came back strongly and we got that equalizer. And yet again, I would ask, for such an important game, why do you keep your experienced players on the bench? Why don't you rather make sure you wrap it up early, absorb the pressure and take the stress off you? Because
okay, so when you say experienced players on the bench, what are you talking about?
Somebody like Asamoah Gyan. For me, he probably would have made a lot more difference if he had come. Somebody would say, oh, he came in 30 minutes, the extra time, he didn't do anything. Mama, let's all accept it. Asamoah Gyan is no longer the Asamoah Gyan we saw at AFCON 2008 or even at the 2010 World Cup. He's older now, so he's slowed down. What you need, it takes him a longer time for him to warm up into matches. So if you intend to use him, there are 2 things. Either you make him warm up for a very long period
on the sidelines,
and then bring him in so he warms himself into the game, or you introduce him early enough so that he uses that as a warm-up and gets into the game to produce the results.
I have to ask you, Najma, do you agree with this?
No, I put up a Facebook page saying that I think we should have started with Asamoah Gyan because he probably would have scored. Yeah, but I want to qualify it. The reason why I said that is because this was a slow game. It wasn't a fast game. You look at the Madagascar game. You think Ghana can even play Madagascar? They can't play Madagascar. Look at South Africa, how South Africa played against Egypt. Do you think we can play that type of football? So
I should ask you.
Well, the answer is no.
We could.
The answer is no. The answer is no. And that's the problem. Having that feeling that we could when we can't. We don't have the material there. I felt Asamoah Gyan could have started because the tempo was very slow. There was no pressure on that game. It was pedestrian. It was one of the slowest games, along with the game that was played earlier on that day. Absolute diabolical. Even forgotten who it was.
The Côte d'Ivoire.
The Côte d'Ivoire match. Absolute rubbish. Right? Côte d'Ivoire should even hand over their qualification to the other team because they didn't deserve it at all. But they scored the goal. And that is about it. Because personally, I wouldn't have brought him. As experienced as he is and everything, top goal scorer, etc., 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 we all know, I don't know if Rosalind knows, but he wasn't fit. How many games? No, he wasn't fit.
He's not fit.
He wasn't fit.
I mean, in the last few times, I always say that, look, And I'll never forget it. There are some people who, if they are not even fit, and you bring them,
Who?
their stature. No, I'm just making a general statement. Their presence alone on the pitch is huge. It makes a difference. It attracts. And I always say that, look, if Asamoah had come in earlier or had started, it means that every time he was with the ball, he would have more players on him trying to see what he would do. And it opens up the chance for the others like the Jordans and co to score. The other thing is also that, I mean, apart from we haven't had the time to build up our strikers. Most of the goals from time immemorial, I mean, in the recent past, maybe probably from the the start of the 2000s, our goals have always been scored by midfielders, the attacking midfielders. We've not had the out and out strikers until Asamoah came in, because the handfuls were there and all that, but we didn't see much of them until Asamoah. And when Asamoah came, he didn't have anybody to look up to. He was thrust into the scene like that. But he's done well, and for me, that is where we should pick it up from. We need to find a way of making sure that we encourage and we build up our strikers.
So before you came, Nana Jima was talking about the fact that we took some local strikers, but we dropped them.
Well, one local striker.
Two players. I mean, three players. They had defender, I think Mohammed, and then Al Hassan, and then Fatal. And for me, I think that I always say that you don't lose much if you took those three players and you give them that exposure and experience. The Ronaldos of Brazil. I remember when Ronaldo went to the World Cup, he was a teenager. At that time, he hadn't been that explosive, but he was sent and kept on the bench. 4 years later, when he went back, he became the star of the team. That is how you build confidence. I mean, in the past, we didn't have many more players plying their trade outside. So we have the local players dominating the squad. Now it's a reversed rule. So what do you do to encourage the local players for them to say that, look, even if I stayed here and I got more playing time at home, I would still have a chance to play for the national team. I don't need to go to Uzbekistan or Afghanistan so that I become a foreign-based player to attract the attention of the coach. What we have done, and what we have done in the last few years, that we have always, it's like a given slot that we give to the local players. We are not even respecting our own local league, the players we have here. And that is the difference between us and the North Africans. Look at the Tunisian side. Yes, they have foreign-based players, but most of the players are also from Esperance and Zamalek and Co.
Even the South African side.
The South African side, they have, and it is the South believe they have what they do, because at the end of the day, take them, let them gain them, because it wouldn't have killed anybody if those two players, and maybe they would have been the players to make the difference. Look, I remember Bukar Caesar's opportunity he gave to Sam Johnson. Whoever thought Sam Johnson would have broken into that squad? He came in at that time and made the difference. And then going forward, because he knew that, look, my confidence had been built up, I had that experience, I had that trust of the coach, he also built himself up. And I mean,
I have to ask you, we've talked about this, but who does the selection for us, do you know?
It's the coach who does it himself. Unfortunately, we don't have a technical directorate where I was listening into Nana saying that, look, there should be a criteria-based, it should always be a criteria-based selection. And I think ideally that is what it should be. Because if you are going to select me and you have 5 of us, it's just like going for a job interview. What do you want? What do I bring to the table? What potential do you see in me? Do I fulfill what you are looking, the aspirations you want, that role you are going to give me? Do I fulfill it? Am I better qualified than those who are? I mean, because at the end of the day, when you are going, somebody will say, they would use something. It's just like when it's head to head and you need to advance. They will say that, look, head to head, you scored more goals, which we did to qualify as the leader of Group F. We didn't concede many goals. This fair play, then ultimately maybe they will say the fair play. If everything is at par, then whoever the organizer of the competition is will say, okay, let's do the toss. So we toss the coin, and whoever gets the head or the tail advances. And that is how it should be. But unfortunately, everything has been left. I doubt if Kwesi discusses his team or the possible players he wants to invite with the technical director currently, who is Otia Kenten. I don't know, because Oti is here, Otia Kenten is here, and he has all the scouts with him there because they went with the scouts. So what did we do? Who was scouting the Tunisians? I mean, because if you are in a draw, you should know the possible teams you are going to play going forward. So you should also know and realize that. But I think that psychologically, just like most Ghanaians are saying now, we assume that, oh, as for Tunisians, they were nobodies. They hadn't, I mean, they were the weakest link at this point, and therefore, if we tried a little bit, we were going to dominate. And that is what the price we paid for.
Yeah. So, Nana, who do we blame for this loss, this early exit, for this poor show at this particular World Cup? Do we blame it solely on the head coach, Kwesi Appiah? Should he resign?
Well, we don't blame it on, we don't have to blame it solely on him. I've told you before that the whole thing is rotten to the core. Everybody should resign. Not just Coach Kwesi Appiah. Everybody should resign. From top to bottom. From those who said they had a dream and we already had the cup already, etc. It's already with me, but I'm now going to collect it when we go over to Egypt. Resign. And then your second in command, and your third in command, and your fourth in command, your technical director, and come right the way down through the technical team. Resign.
It's almost as you're saying we should dissolve the entire team.
Well, that wouldn't be such a bad idea, because I think that, you know, when you look at the players that are there, many of them, this is their last AFCON. This is their last AFCON.
Asamoah Gyan, this is the last one.
Yes, it's the last AFCON.
Should he have stood by his decision to resign? Because he's been, I mean, I don't want to say useless, but we haven't used him.
Yes.
I mean, he's been idle.
I think that, for me, if you are looking at who takes the blame, Kwesi Appiah is solely responsible. I'm not blaming him, but what I'm saying is it is his responsibility. He makes the decisions and he sticks with it. I mean, on countless times he's told us that he is in charge. And just like we know for everything, whatever decision, unless you are telling us it was imposed on you, but if you took it without, I mean, any input from anybody, any suggestions, because people might have made suggestions which he didn't work with, so he takes the blame. Just as when, if the credit comes, he will be credited with it. So also he takes the blame.
Do you expect that he would resign?
Well, for me, I don't think
he should be sacked.
I don't think. I mean, already I would wait to see what the normalization committee, Kofi Amwa, will do, because Kofi Amwa was emphatic that we've asked him to go and deliver the cup or we will sack him. So I'm waiting for us to see what the normalization committee will do. But that is what we do. You don't go into a tournament. And I always say that, look, it's just like we take things for granted. We like to say things to excite ourselves. We tickle ourselves to laugh. Because you don't go into a competition and right from the onset, it's good to dream, it's good to be hopeful, but you don't make it look so emphatic and make it look as if everybody else is going to sleep and you are the only ones who have, even, I mean, sometimes when you are going to war, much as you know your strategy and you know your tactics, you don't go declaring victory before the war.
Isn't that the political side of this whole football in Ghana?
Well, that is, I mean, and that is also another point. I mean, look at how things have been structured and have been arranged. I mean, for the first time, look at the people who even made up the management committee of the Black Stars, who are there. Look at the people we've sent there. And Mama, that is something else that people, but in the coming days, don't be surprised, it's also going to form the focus of our discussions. The number of people we sent there, the fact that we didn't, and it's all because of that we didn't even want to, I mean, divulge the budget, the contents of the budget, because we have old players who are there, hoping that they will go and side the team up. We have football, we have given slots to football people, I mean, groups of people to be there in the interest of football. And then also the supporters, we have people who were waiting for us to get to the quarterfinals so that more people will be sent there. And all these adds up to it. Did it make that impact? Was it necessary that we do that? What was the achievement?
We don't learn from other people. I mean, there's a clear example. The Egyptians wanted to host and win. When we hosted here, we said host and win. We didn't. The Egyptians came to win it. Now, the Egyptians are saying host and win, and they got knocked out. 3 hours after, that FA president sacked the coach and the entire technical team, and then he put the gun at his own head and he said, I'm also off. And three other members followed him. It's even more than 3 now. The FA, as it stands right now, is totally dysfunctional. It doesn't have a quorum. So, you know, when we say, oh, whose fault, who should resign, who should this, follow suit. There's a clear example there. And the coach of Uganda is also resigned, and I think that Ugandan team is solid, but they just need brushing up on certain technical aspects. But solid.
Nana, you're a coach yourself. I mean, I just in the, I'm now beginning to understand when we hire you as a coach of the national team, you're actually paid monthly, whether there's a tournament or not. That is his job. Would you resign if you were Kwesi Appiah? Knowing that
I would have
even
to.
if we insult you, I mean, you'll pass your go. You go to the UK, go and relax with your family, come back. Ghanaians, we talk. But at the end of the day, you're earning money. That's your salary.
I would resign. I would resign. And I would have probably resigned even before this came up. Because, look, there was no hope. It was a false hope. It was blind patriotism. We know we didn't have the material. We didn't use a selection criteria. As Roslyn said, you're the head coach. You're not even, there's no conversation with even the technical directorate. The technical directorate is here in Ghana, and everybody else is out.
Yeah, but you said his scouts people were there.
Oh, come on.
But who includes him on the trip? I mean, we send people who have no
be there
business
by default.
With technical football who are in Egypt with the Black Stars.
That is how come when a team is traveling, you need to decide, the FA and whoever the sponsors are would have to decide who would have to be on the team. What I know, the standard practice is that naturally the chairperson of the management committee would go. Yeah. You have your team, your technical team who is also there. And then you have maybe 1 or 2 management committee members to go because they are going to also manage the team. In the past, that is what. But then, if there are slots, because when you are going for such competitions, there is a number that the hosts would cater for. I think 29 or so. It's like either 29 or 30. So any other number you take is at extra cost to you, the team. So whoever is there that you do not see on the bench is being paid for by government, I mean by the people of Ghana. So if I went as a media officer, it means that my role is expected by CAF or FIFA. So I would have to go, and I would have to be part of that 29 months team that goes. Any other, so it is for the FA to decide that, look, we need the technical director to be there. So we would include him, and it will be at that extra cost to us. Or instead of taking the technical director, we think that we need a player who would learn from the exposure, who will benefit from the exposure and the experience. And so we would take him and not take this person. We will take this person, apart from the mandatory number, we will take these extra people to that place. If we do not do it, then that is it. But for me, I think that as for him resigning, it is entirely up to him to make that decision. Unfortunately, he has fueled that perception that his was a political appointment, because we've had presidents intervening. President Kufuor, it indeed started with President Kufuor. When President Kufuor came to power, then he was made, the first time he came, he was made the coach of the Black Stars. And then when governments changed, somehow they managed to get rid of him. And then when NPP came back to power, he found his way back into it. Not to take anything away from him as what he brings to the table as a coach. By the end of the day, that is also why they are paid him. I mean, this is your insurance. When you deliver, you stay on. If you do not, you are likely to be fired. And so it is an agreement, but there is always a compensation. If you decide to walk away and it is part of the contractual terms, then you would have to compensate the FA for the period that you leave the job, and then they will have to look for a new coach. If the FA decides to sack you, if it is in the agreement, they would have to compensate you for abruptly ending a deal between the two of you. So it is up to the two parties. But for me, Nana, you can't even hold the normalization committee because they have a mandate. By September, it will be ending. And what we need to do is we have between now and next year to start planning for the next qualifying round for the AFCON. What do we do? Do we keep him? Do we have the structures? And that is the other thing that they need to do. Do we have the structures? If Kwesi is selecting players, does he need to defend the selection? This is the first time he chose his 23 players or even his provisional squad without having a press conference to tell us why he chose this player over that player. Because when he came in, he said he was going to give everybody the chance and he was going to make sure that he built a team for the future. I hope this is the team for the future, and gradually he will be able to face
this team. Okay. No, sorry. I'm just when you said that you hope this is the team for the future.
Well, but Mama, we have players knocking on the door. We have the under 20 players who haven't broken into this team yet. We have the Meteors, who probably some of the players who could have done better, but they are not there. So,
but remember, those that we're seeing are people who play for other clubs. So we're looking at people who play for clubs in Europe and elsewhere. Well, that's how it looks like. Well,
we need to, but we also, I mean, they are setting England, for instance. At a point, they said that, look, for every time that clubs, I mean, that is why the FAs will come up with policies and rules that ensure that most of their top players got played in their in their clubs, so that they were consistent, so that at every given time, you don't need to look outside to get your players in. When you do that, because now
how many English players play outside anyway?
Now, like I said,
how many?
Now, like I said, if we don't do that, what it means is that every time you have a problem coming together to train, because now we have synced our calendar and our schedule. Africa has synced its schedule to that of the rest of the world. So there is an international break where everybody comes home for an international break. If at that time you are not able to arrange a friendly match for your national team, it means that for that period that there is an international break, your players do not have anything to do, and the coach does not really have much to do. You will not be able to assess your players until when you are confronted with the situation of calling up players to come and play a qualifier or for a tournament. And that is not good enough.
We have a poll that we put up. We wanted to know, we asked a specific question in terms of the coach and whether or not he should remain as the Black Stars coach. So this is it. 69% of you responded no, 31 responded yes. But on the back of this, I wanted to ask, because you kept mentioning FA, but we don't have an FA. This is our poorest show in 10 years. Could we attribute this poor show to the fact that we don't have an FA?
No, not at all.
No,
not at all. And even the thought of saying that this is our poorest show. Why, did we win something 10 years ago?
Well, we made it.
This is the
from this stage, didn't we? I'm wrong. Am I wrong?
This is part of the problem. And this is part of the problem. When you say going to a final is an achievement, when you say reaching the semi-final is an achievement, when the achievement that you went there for is winning the cup. This is part of the problem with our mindset.
But you progress.
Yes.
In order to get the cup.
No,
if you don't make it to semis, make it to finals,
it's the problem.
How do you get closer to the cup?
It's the problem. This is the problem. Our mindset is not correct when it comes to these things.
What should it be?
Because if we had gone to the semi-final, everybody would be saying, yeah, we did well. We did well. We got to the final, we did well. We did well. But what did you actually go there for? What was the reason you were participating in this tournament? If Madagascar goes to the final, they did well. They're debutants. But not when you're the Brazilian of Africa and you're this and you're that and you're this and you go to the final and then you come home without the trophy, you did well. We do this talk too much. Our standards are too low.
So this is not our poorest show ever?
No, because we didn't win the cup.
Well, we've not won the cup.
We didn't win the cup.
I disagree with Nana. I think that we didn't win the cup. We haven't won the cup. But I also think that sometimes when you're going for competitions, you set the target. Nobody is, apart from the debutants, who usually would go and say that, look, we would want to eye a quarterfinal or a semi-final. I think that every giant in Ghana, I mean African football, who goes to the AFCON, goes hoping that at the end of the day, they would win the cup. But if you don't do and you get closest, I'm not saying that that should be our benchmark and our standards. that will not also be, because sometimes you look at the circumstances. I mean, in the last 2 finals that we played in, Angola 2010 and Equatorial Guinea 2015, I think that you saw how painfully it ended, and that is it. But for me, in the last 10 years, this is one of the poorest. I mean, we've been consistent as semi-finalists. We didn't even go past the round of six. I mean, the round of 16, and we've been knocked out.
Is this the fact that this was expanded, because this is 24 teams? Has it exposed us? Maybe we were poor, but because it was just 16, we couldn't really see our weaknesses.
Well, it was easier to get to the semi-finals, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You didn't have to do as much.
Yeah,
you didn't have to do as much as you had to do this time round.
No, I think it's just one additional match. It hasn't changed. I mean, it hasn't exposed anything. Simply on the day we met a better side, a side that was more hungry, that knew what they wanted for, and they had everything working for them. And
are we ever hungry? Join us 030221169102 030221169102. We're activating the phone lines real quick. If you want to have a say on this, please give us a call 030221169102. So Nana, how do we move on from where we are? We stuck.
And we are. If it's 37 years, I would say we're stuck. Yeah, we are stuck. We've got to get people who really have an understanding of the game, who are suitably qualified, etc., to sit around the table and try and put everything back on track. It's not something you can do for the next AFCON. I'm talking about the next 10 years, the next 15 years. You've got to have targets like that not only incorporate the African Cup of Nations for men, but also do the same for women, because the investment in women's football is woeful, it's abysmal. And then you go out there and you expect them to perform and bring back trophies. It's just not possible. It's not done like that. So we must have short, medium and long-term objectives that we apply.
Who should draw up that for us? Because right now,
well,
yeah, but we don't have an FA.
But by September we will get a new. I mean, by the end of September,
hopefully,
October, hopefully, we should get a new FA. So they would have to come back to the drawing board. They should get a proper blueprint for Ghana football development, progression, competitions, and all that for all other aspects of the game, so that going forward, you know that every time you take when you achieve. I mean, you need to have a SWOT analysis. You need to have a pestle. You need to analyze everything. I mean, for me, Mama, we should move away from allowing religion, sentiments, and politics into getting. I mean, that has also been part of our being. How many prophets did not prophesy?
Can we stop the prophet from prophesying? We'll spend a bit of time on this, but let me engage.
We listen to them.
let me engage some viewers who have called. Afrifa Mensah is in Kumasi, and I'll come to you, Ebenezer, after Afrifa. Afrifa, first, good morning to you. Thank you for your call.
Hello, good morning, dear.
Good morning, sir. You're on air. Let's hear you.
Hope all is well with you, Paul.
Oh, by God's grace,
We all went very sad yesterday night, but we are praying that all things go so well for us.
Okay. All right.
I think now what we have to do is to rely on the youth team, which is the local team, because we all saw that we didn't have a hope in the Black Star team. So now we have to just put our hope in the local team, then we rely on them and see whether they can work things out for us.
Okay.
As Nana was saying, I think we need to just put off this team, then we rely on the local team and see whether things will go well for us.
Okay.
Because 37 years is not just 2 years around the corner. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Afifa, but let's clarify something. I think Nana was talking about the technical crew, correct?
Well, I do believe that a lot of these players, they don't need to come back for the next AFCON. That's for sure. You know, they've done their best. Thank you very much.
But not all of them.
Yeah, but not all of them. Okay. And I'm saying that we need to take into account what we have here locally as well. Why do we keep dismissing these local players? I know they're not at the top of their game because they don't have the exposure, but how will they get it? How will they get it? So we need to take due regard for them as well.
All right. Let's speak to Ebenezer. Ebenezer Sean is in Bawe. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Mama V. Yesterday it was really, really disappointing, but we don't. What can we do?
Did you actually
problem,
think from the beginning that we're going to go far in the tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, I knew we were not going to go far. I knew we were not going to go far. If you look at the way things are going, you realize that we are not going to go far. You see, it's about time we all have to take the bull by the horn, because we have to know that the team we are having is not good. And then what we have to do, we have to concentrate on our local league. Look at all the four AFCON Cup we've taken. It's because of our how do you call it, our local players who played and we take the cup. Now we are talking about foreigners. Now foreign players, they are only concentrating on money. When there's no money, they are not going to play. So we have to concentrate on our local players and the local coach. Even if Kwesi Appiah has made a mistake, no problem. We should take another local coach and train the local coach so that we can win cup.
Okay.
You understand? If we don't do that, I don't think we can do something. We should make sure that our local players will train them, will have faith in them, and they will play.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. He makes a point. We should still take a local coach. I mean, we have this conversation every now and then. Local coach, does it even make a difference? Like, what is that?
I think it makes a difference. I think it makes a difference. I think it's important. We've had a lot of expatriate coaches, and they've delivered the same thing.
They haven't brought us the trophy, the ultimates.
Delivered. Yeah, so they haven't brought us anything. You see, I have a challenge. I've got a challenge with the whole thing, because, you see, we tend to ignore what is out there, a universal language, and then subscribe to something that is less. We have the CAF coaching qualifications, and they're not up to it. Some people will tell you they're the equivalent of UEFA, and they're not by far. And I believe that this is one of the things that have held us back, because our coaches don't want to go and invest in themselves. The FA too doesn't want to go and invest in them and send them out there for a year, 15 months, to go and take these very valuable coaching courses. Because even if you have a CAF coaching license A, you can't go out there and get a job. There's only one person I've seen who's got assistant post, and that was Didi Dramani, right? But apart from that, they disregard it. And if you write to the FAs in Europe and say, I have a coaching license A, when I come over to your country, what is it the equivalent of? They will knock it back 2 places.
Okay.
They will knock that license back 2 places, let me tell you. I've already quizzed the British FA about it, and they've made it quite clear. I have the email. It's about investing, and we don't invest enough in the personnel. We think going out to Germany for a 2-week course, a 3-week course in Holland, a 2-week course in Spain is enough. No. Where you are going to in Spain and Holland, etc., those people have done 1.5 years, 2 years, etc., getting their UEFA Pro badge, etc. We do have a pro license coach, and that's Tanko Mohammed, and he's the assistant to Kwesi Appiah. He's the assistant, man. Meanwhile, he's super qualified. He's super qualified, and I think we need to invest in our coaches, and we need to send them out there so that they do proper coaching courses, not refresher courses that last 5 minutes and then you're back.
Okay, let's speak to Mike. Mike Bonsu is in Accra. Good morning, Mike.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for your call. Let's hear you.
Yeah, I want to say hi to. Let me turn down, because I think I can hear myself. Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but is the volume of that television set on? If it is, then we'll get feedback unless you turn it off. Okay.
First, let me say hi to Nana Ajimai. First, I say hi to you, and then hi.
Hello.
Hello, I'm here.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
We've all said hello back, Mike.
Okay, right. Let me say hi to Nana Ajimai, and then hi to Rosalind, and hi to yourself. I think, Ghana has become an expert as a pathologist that performs post-mortem on dead people and does not write a report that will cure people from similar disease in future. That's what we have become. I believe that the talking has become too much now. What is happening is that we all, just as Nana Ajiman said earlier, we all knew that the current Black Stars, most of them are in there for their last AFCON. But the solution is not to go with younger players. The solution was to select the right players. The right players. Look, no matter what we do, the era when we had local players dominating the Black Stars is finished. The economy of Ghana does not make it conducive for players to stay in Ghana. I heard, Nana and Rosemary talk about South Africa and all that. Economically, sponsorship and all, South Africa, they are miles ahead of us. And we don't have that. Every player in this country aspires to go out and play professional football so they can look after their family. This situation will be with us for some time. It is how we manage that particular situation. That is what we are not doing right. We've allowed monetization to be the big. Look, if a player is going there and is going to earn $80,000 appearance fee, he plays one match and he says, I'm injured, I've got to go back to my base and get treatment. Has he earned that $80,000 or not? It's about time we sat back and then write a proper report as a pathologist that will prevent a disease spreading.
Okay, all right.
All of us, including myself, including all Ghanaians, we are all responsible. It is not just Kwesi Appiah or the players or management. We are all responsible. Okay. But unfortunately, the press should take the biggest blame because the press has the platform to talk to the entire nation, and they dictate the pace. They set the agenda. And that is where we need to be careful. Let me tell you before I leave, as far as I'm concerned, I've become a little emotional this morning, but I think, I was very young when Ghana lost on penalties in Senegal. I went. Then we hosted it in Ghana, 2008. We got out, I went. I was in South Africa, 2010. When we got out, I wept. And I said, I'm never going to weep again for this thing. Because it is not our welfare, the people out there, the people, agenda setters are seeking. They're seeking their personal agenda. And until we get rid of that, I'm sorry, we have no national team.
All right.
What we have a bunch of players that we put together as a national team. We don't have a national team, and we've got to. Mama, if you please, I want to cut it off here because
Mr. Bosu,
I may be mother.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your contribution to this conversation. Suleimana Shamdeen in Tamale, I hope you're still on. I know I've kept you for a while. Thank you for holding. Apologies. Let's hear you.
Good morning to you all in the studio.
Good morning. Good morning, Suleimana. Suleimana, please go on.
My contribution today is going to the players. Is going to the players. In fact, the way they played, I don't like it because if you call yourself a professional player, I believe you shouldn't go to play a penalty in such a manner. When you are focusing on penalty, you should focus on one particular position. You shouldn't go and be turning around to play a penalty in that that particular way. In fact, I'm so disappointed in Ekuban.
Okay.
He has disappointed all of us.
All right.
You a professional player, you should focus. Look at the way the defender went and played the ball. But for Kosiapia, I don't blame him because he has contributed a lot for the Ghanaian national team.
Okay.
And then I would like us to give him more time to build up the team.
Okay.
You look at Samuel Owusu, he's one of the best players that I've seen in the team. And Wakasu did marvelously well yesterday too. So anyway, I blame Ekuban for our misfortune.
Okay, all right.
Caused us.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll spend some time on the penalties and the goal that was disallowed. RF Tando is in Isipon. Good morning to you, Mr. Tando. Hello, Mr. Tando.
Yes, how are you?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. You're on air.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to comment on this match. Actually, hello, I say thank you for the opportunity. I very much agree with Mr. Bonsu, that we should all take the blame. I mean, how can you go to a tournament, look at the abuses of the coach, the players and all. Somebody was saying this morning that the coach didn't do well, the theoretically, as Samoan should have taken. But we are the same Ghanaians who abuse Asamoah. Instead of people can see him. You see, and Asamoah said he's not going to play the penalty again. I also disagree with Mr. What do you call it? The Rasaman. I've forgotten his name.
Nanajiman.
The coach, Nanajiman, for saying that most of the players cannot play the next AFCON. I believe the only person is Asamoah, and to some extent, probably John Boy, if he's not on form. But others, I believe they are still playing actively. So I disagree with him on that score.
All right.
And then just this morning, I heard something, I don't know if you can confirm, that Coach Apia says he's resigned.
Let me ask Nanajima and
I also understand the normalization committee chairman, Dr. Amua, said if he doesn't qualify for the AFCON, he's going to out. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Tando. But just for your information, my guests cannot confirm. They haven't heard anything that Kosiapia has resigned. Okay, let's talk about the goal that was disallowed. That was very painful. Was it a clean goal?
Well, I think it was a clean goal. I think the referee thought that when the ball was played back in, that it hit Daniel Partey's hand. And you see, you've got to look at the direction where he is, his trajectory looking in at that, because it's not that he directly wants to deny us a goal scoring opportunity or a goal or anything, but he is giving what he thinks he's seeing. I think it's here now. The ball comes back in there. Now look at his trajectory, because he's diagonally across from Partey. We can see it here. It's not his hand. We can see it, but he's not in a position to see that.
So the question of the VAR.
That is why he should have communicated with his assistants and also the VAR, because he said it had hit the hand.
Yeah.
Initially, people thought somebody was offside, and then he indicated that it hit your hand. But on, replays, it's obvious that it didn't even touch anywhere near his hand.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying that in the past, somebody would have ignored this and allowed this, because it wasn't a handball.
So with a situation like this, can't you appeal? Like, what can you do?
No, unless it is the VAR. Unless it is the VAR
and
it is instant, you can't go and say that, look, having watched the replay, we need you to reverse the... you throw the whole competition into
human error is a part of the game.
It's unfortunate, but...
The Tunisians scored an own goal. It's human error. Can we say, he scored in his own goal? So
well, he scored in the wrong post. But this was a good... And if you look at the
referee.
No, but he should have seen it, because where he was, I thought he was behind, but he was so close. And you should have seen it.
He can't.
But even though the goal was disallowed, look at the way the goal was scored.
It was
like rare.
It was.
Yeah, that's a good goal.
Intelligent,
it's a good goal.
And it was a very good goal. it would have been one of the best. You may think it's very easy, but it would have been one of the best goals at this competition. It's just unfortunate that it wasn't allowed.
Yeah, and you can't dwell on it.
I mean, you
Yeah,
can't.
true.
You cannot.
You
You
move
cannot
on,
dwell on
and
it.
that is why
Yeah.
you had other opportunities
cannot
to
dwell
have
on it.
scored.
True.
I mean,
You're playing Tunisia, who you've beaten 6 times out of 8, and one of your goals is disallowed, and then they go and score themselves. Because in the whole duration of the game, you didn't score any
So
goals.
they actually make up for the lost goal.
You know,
Yeah.
they scored it themselves, and we got that.
The penalties. I saw a tweet when I woke up this morning, a sorry tweet.
He doesn't need to be sorry. He was thrown in the deep end. You hadn't played all for. This is the 4th game, and we bring you on, and then we tell you take a penalty with so much pressure, and you've not faced that pressure before. You don't know how we are back home, etc., etc. But you've heard talk because they would be talking. Boy, if we don't do this, so and so, this and that, blah blah blah. We throw you into the deep end, and we say take a penalty. You don't score the penalty. There's nothing to be sorry about. If you look at the last penalty, you look at our goalkeeper, Richard Ofori, when he stood there for the last penalty to be taken, the penalty taker just came and rolled the ball down the side.
Body language.
He didn't even move. He just watched it.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about that? What do we say about that?
And I also think that, I mean, so does it mean that we haven't trained our goalkeepers to be shot stoppers? Because the efforts, and for me, I got worried because Richard Ofori, we had seen in the South African League making some dramatic saves when it came to penalties.
Yeah.
Where did that instinct go to? What happened? And then also sometimes I think his body language gave the Tunisians the indication of where he was going to go, and so they shot it in. On a few occasions he tried, he moved, he got the direction correct, all right, but he was not able. And then for me, a Cuban, I won't blame, and I would plead with Ghanaians, we should spare him.
Yeah.
We should spare him. Even the football goats that we all say, the Lionel Messi's and the Cristiano Ronaldo's, they do miss penalties. So we should spare him. He is new, and we can't blame him. And that's why I kept saying that, look, Mama, if you want to have a player contribute meaningfully to the success of a team, you don't give him very short playing time. You allow him to psychologically warm himself up into the game. Look at the time he brought him in. And when he was going to take the penalties, unfortunately, he wasn't even watching the goalkeeper. I think either he was confident or he was playing those things. What will happen if I miss? How are Ghanaians going to take it? That weight of responsibility and of national expectation weighed on him, so he didn't lift his head. And you cannot take a penalty kick from them. But it's understandable. It's understandable. That's, I mean, we can't, if the experience that Samuel Jan says, look, because of how people talk, I will be the last penalty taker for the team. Why would you blame Ekuban?
Was Samuel Jan ever going to take the penalty?
No, he said he said, because I mean, if you were part of the team, on-field players, and it came to a penalty like we had against, we had in Senegal '92, where we had that marathon, obviously you would also kick. But he said if they had to select the first 5, he would never be.
Why would he put something like that? Because once you present yourself as a player of the Black Stars, you are under the direction of a coach. Do you give terms and conditions to your play?
Has just said that for this tournament, he will be the last person to take the penalty.
But not because of the criticism.
Because he's missed 2 penalties. He missed 2 penalties, and he thinks that other people should. Asamoah has not missed that many penalties in one particular competition. It probably may have been successive. But look at the way we've lashed at him, the way we've vilified him, and being emotional as he is, he thinks that he doesn't want to take it. Indeed, his mother was alive when some of these things were said. So his mother told him, if ever there's a time for you to take a penalty, please don't. If you can, don't. So he thinks he's granting his mother's wishes. And unfortunately, I mean, I always say that sometimes you can't do anything about it, but that is a personal wish. There are some people, like I'll tell you, there are some players who don't fly. They don't travel by air. So if you were traveling and he cannot travel to that distance by road, it means that for that particular game, he's out of your plans, and you can't do anything about it. So it's one of those hazards.
All right. Okay, we have to end the conversation here. Just some few seconds for you to wrap up your thoughts.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how far Madagascar can progress. That's what I'm, because the tournament's still on.
The tournament is not over. We're out.
On.
Yeah,
it's still on.
True.
It's, you know, the Egyptians are being kicked out, but they hadn't said, okay, you can't play any more matches in Egypt. Do you understand? So I'm now looking to see who's going to win this AFCON.
Okay.
It's very interesting. And for me, I think when Madagascar meet Tunisia, they're going to whoop them. That's what I think. They're going to whoop them. And if they'd met us, they would have whooped us too. You know, so there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work to do.
Do we support Nigeria now? The other closest still remaining on?
Personally, I would not, because I would want to see a team that hasn't won before to lift it.
So Madagascar, I guess.
Madagascar could. I mean, Senegal have never won it. They look good to win it, and I would. But for me,
South Africa is in good form too.
I mean, for me, on a very biased and mischievous note, I would want to say that I don't want anybody to get closer to the 4 we have. I mean, we should allow others to win, so that when next time we have the opportunity, we can go to 5 and then others can follow. But on a more serious note, I think this competition has seen quality. Much, to the perception that we were just going to add, the 24 teams were just going to add up to the numbers. I think that's the teams have proved that if they all had that equal chance and equal opportunity, they were going to do it. But it is an interesting quarterfinal matchup. I mean, you have 5 former champions up against 3 sides that have never been, have never played in the final before. And at this point, you can't predict. I would want to see what they bring to the table in each game. But the big game tomorrow will be, I think, Nigeria and South Africa. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am as well. Nigeria, South Africa. Okay, so Madagascar, we see maybe after the so what are you predicting? They'll go to the finals?
No, I'm not predicting anything.
Okay.
I mean, Rosalind has just said. You can't,
I'm going to say we'll have you back in the studio.
And a more interesting...
The easiest thing to predict was that we were coming home.
The joke making the round is that now that Ahmad is in charge, certainly Madagascar should be, because when Issa Hayatou was in charge, Cameroon won 3. They won and they had 5. They became the 5 times champion. But I think that Madagascar have worked for it. This shows you what development and progression means.
Of course.
Planning. I mean, now football is not about a prophecy from a religious person. It is about technically how you prepare and plan. It's just like executing a project. If you don't plan well, you don't do all your SWOT and your pestle and all that, and you go in hoping on past glories, past achievements, you will be badly exposed. And this is what has happened to us. I think that we need to plan. And everybody, it's not just Africa, but it is all over. Look at Argentina. They still rely on their big names and their big stars. They don't seem to be planning. And they're also facing the same challenges Ghana is facing when it comes to football. I think that we need to plan. We should all take a cue from it. And we realize that now nobody wants to come and say that I'm coming to add up to the numbers. Everybody plans, even if it is the small money. Madagascar, I don't think their coach is even earning $20,000 a month. But he was from a Division 2 side in France. A Division 2 side in France. But he had the chance, and I think that he's had time to work with the team. They are giving him the support and the resources that he needs, and he's delivering.
All right.
We should learn from that.
Okay, 80,000 appearance. Okay, thank you, Rosalind. Thank you, Nanajima, for being here, for helping us with it. Stay with us. When we come back, we still have a lot more. You're watching the AM Show. Please stay.